Preparing the cartoon with John Marshall. I've taken examples of all of the basic styles of stencils and combined them into this one picture. You see the silhouette, the reverse silhouette and the outline. You see the basic outline, the reverse outline, and the implied designs. All have been combined to make this one beautiful image. Let's have a little fun and see what changes are required to convert it into a repeating pattern. There are several basic techniques that may be employed to convert an image into a repeating stencil. The style I prefer is very direct. It can be any image you like. You simply take your paper and fold it in half one way, open it up and fold it in half the other. You'll find that this gives you 4 equal quarters. I'm now going to slice my cartoon along these fold lines. In half one way, and now in half the other. Do be careful to keep track of the original order of your sections. Okay, so now I have 4 separate pieces. Next, I'll need to rearrange them. It is, after all, a repeating pattern, so it's going to be repeating from top to bottom. Therefore, I'll take these top slices and move them down to the bottom. I'll do the same with both halves and realign my pieces. A little clear tape will help to keep them grouped. We'll do this for both sets of 2. Now that I have my top to bottom set, and I'll be taking a closer look at the center a little later, but first let's stop and double check on what we're doing here. You can easily see how this little portion of flower here will match up with the section down at the bottom. The middle hasn't been dealt with yet, of course, but just want to make sure I do have a very accurate repeating pattern top and bottom, because after all I simply cut it in half. As far as the right and left repeat are concerned, I'm going to be doing basically the same thing. I'm going to pick up this piece and move it over to the other side, swapping positions. And now what I have is a very accurately matching side-to-side guide for my repeat. And once again, I'll simply tape the elements together to keep them stable. Now let's take a moment to double check. This portion of the flower, this curve, we can see will match up, if we follow down, to the rest of the flower down below. So my pieces are in the correct position. Now these little bits of stripe do indeed match up with those bits of stripe at the bottom. So it's a good idea to check and double check. Let's go side to side here. If we follow the curve of this blossom, we can see that it matches up with the other curve, assuring me that everything should go together well. However, the center section of my design is a bit disjointed. Nothing makes sense anymore, and there's certainly no cohesive ties. So let's go on to cleaning this up a bit and making something attractive. I'm going to cheat a little here and jump ahead so that you may see how the design will ultimately appear. The center section has been cleaned up. You can see that it repeats top to bottom as well as side to side. We have our basic elements included. There is, of course, the silhouette, the reverse silhouette, and the outline. Again, reverse silhouette. And we also have all of our small components. Basically, all of the elements have been coordinated to make an attractive design. Now that we know where we're heading, let's return to planning our cartoon. I hope that was helpful. Let's look at our cartoon. I have this white portion here that I think I'll turn into sort of a moon shape. By far the easiest way to go about this is to just grab a plate from the kitchen, line it up with the bottom edge of my cartoon, and to keep track of where it's being placed, I need to grab a magic marker and put a mark at each edge of the rim where it hits the bottom of the cartoon. Draw my moon shape in approximately where I think it should go, and before I take the plate and reposition it at the top, I realize I'm going to need to find the point to which I'll be coordinating. So I'm going to fold the bottom edge of my cartoon to create a perpendicular line going to the top edge, which will help me to line things up later. As I open this, you can see that indeed the striped areas do match. So take this plate, put it down in position, nudge things a bit to get it lined up right over to that fold, and I'm going to use my magic marker to draw the rest of the moon in. There we go. Changing the design does create some challenges. I'm going to have to examine this part and this. I'm going to want to change some areas to solid paper and some areas to cutout. So let me take the magic marker to draw in the parts I'll be leaving, and I'm going to put a little W for white for the sections that I'll be cutting out. Of course, it's the white of the moon. I'll also need to begin drawing in elements that are missing, such as the rest of the petal on this flower. I need to keep this petal. I need to add some more petals here, and also to cut this section out. And as you can see, there are quite a few other details I'll need to consider. So basically, I'm going along determining which sections need to be cut out, which sections need to be filled in, and basically what the ultimate look of this design will be once I filled in all the details and cut everything out. I'm back now with my completed drawing. I found that all of the scribbles, the W's, the cutout sections, the filled in sections became a bit confusing, so I cleaned everything up with magic marker and whiteout and then photocopied it on a very high contrast setting. But there's still a very important aspect to the design that needs to be taken care of, and those are bridges. Notice that these sections haven't quite been filled in yet. The line is cut out, and it's going to allow this element to simply fall away if cut, as shown here. So let's add bridges. Armed with my magic marker, I'm going to go in and draw in any place that looks as if it might be weak, adding in bridges here and here, and any place else that looks as if it needs reinforcement. The magic marker lines are fine for touching up the small bridges, but what about these large areas? They need special treatment. I begin by drawing in large, unsightly bridges. Now, the little bridges here will remain in position. I won't be cutting them out. They're part of the design. But this larger element will need to be removed, so I need to draw a shape that will quickly catch my eye, the type of shape that is never part of my design, never part of my drawing style, so that my eyes will go to it immediately when I focus on removing them. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in, make it match the rest of the design. This solid part of the bridge will be left intact throughout the entire carving process. You will of course have to design your own type of bridge to catch your eye. Continue as you have done, adding bridges wherever you think there's a weak spot or wherever reinforcement is needed, filling in as you go. This brings us to the end of our cartoon designing section. I have approximate matches top to bottom. They're not exact, but we'll be cleaning up some of the smaller, finer details in a later step. I do know that my imagery repeats side to side, and I do know that it repeats top to bottom. And I do know that I've examined the center section to make sure I've taken care of all of the at-risk portions. Of course, it doesn't hurt to come back and check one more time. Bridges are so important to a well-designed and sturdy stencil that I recommend you go back and check every point repeatedly. See, here I've missed another one myself. So do take time to verify everything. Having done so, let's go on to the stencil carving section.